In a relationship or even a friendship, there's certain things you should know. That's why today I bring you toxic relationships. 9 red flags you need to know. And Dr. Lovebug knows best, so let's get to it. Disrespectful language. This is another huge red flag. Now, at first, they might not be disrespectful language towards you. It might be directed towards other people. And when you're first in a relationship, you might find it kind of cute. But disrespectful language only turns into disrespectful actions and disrespectful behaviors. And later, that will all be directed towards you. Big huge red flag in your relationship. Get out immediately, because this is something you don't need in your relationship. My name's Edward Thompson, and I'll be your host today and every day. Welcome to Dr. Love.
Dr. Lovebug, did you like and subscribe, please?
Thank you. Like and subscribe. Always getting up and leaving the room because they have to take somebody and they want to be secret about it, or they want to they get phone calls constantly from the opposite sex and they have to leave the room because they have to talk in private. These are all huge red flags. Or you met online dating, but yet they're still on their dating app, or you met on Tinder and they're still on Tinder. These are huge red flags. Actually, for me, here at Dr. Lovebug, and we don't hold nothing back, I would dump their ass. If you're in a relationship, you're supposed to be 100% committed to each other. And you're supposed to be only for them. And if they're looking at the opposite sex right in front of you, almost as if their tongue's hanging out of their mouth, then that is being extremely disrespectful. And it shouldn't be tolerated. It should be nipped in the butt immediately, and it's a big, huge red flag. It also says, given the opportunity, I will cheat on you. That's what that says. So, if you love someone, you shouldn't be looking at the opposite sex. I don't care if they're the most beautiful person in the world, they're the most handsomest person in the world. The only one that should matter to you is the one you're with. And if you're in a 100% committed relationship, that's all that should matter. When I was younger, I had that happen to me several times. And one time the girl says, I'm only human. Yeah, well, I'm only human too. And I've got feelings. And you just don't do that. And now one thing you don't want to do is, turn around and start yelling, because that's just going to lead into an argument. Best thing to do is really just to talk about it later and say, when you did that, you really hurt my feelings. Because someone that doesn't want to do anything you want to do. They always want you to do things they want to do. And if you're in a relationship, it's give and take. And if they really care about you, they'll do things that you don't want to do. I often do things I don't want to do with my wife, but I do it because I extremely love her. And no matter what, I'm always going to do what interests her. And that's what you should do. But when it's a one-way street, and they only want to do what they want to do, and they want you to do what they want to do. For instance, if you like to go play golf, but your boyfriend doesn't want to go play golf. As a matter of fact, he refuses to go play golf. But yeah, he wants you to go to wrestling games continuously. That's a huge red flag, because in a relationship, you should do for each other. You should do whatever it takes to make the opposite sex or your partner happy. If people try to manipulate you, a huge red flag, and definitely a toxic relationship. Whether it even be a friendship or a loving relationship. When someone tries to manipulate you, it's also a form of trying to control you. You know, they may tell you a lot of if you do this or if you do that, and they're trying to manipulate you to do something or not to do something. You know, for instance, if they tell you don't go to the concert because they're going to be smoking a lot of dope there and it's bad for you, and they continue and continue and continue until finally you're just tired of hearing it and you're like, oh, okay, I won't go. They just won. They just manipulated you, and you shouldn't let people manipulate you. That's a big, huge red flag. Now, if it's something that's dangerous and they're trying to get you not to do it because it's dangerous, that's a whole different story. But if they're just trying to manipulate you because it's a form of controlling, big, huge red flag. Get out. Okay. Either you discuss that with him and try to fix the problem, or you get out. That's your best option. Because if they try to control you by manipulation, it will only escalate. Self-centered. And this is a big red flag. And when you have a friend that's self-centered, uh, basically self-centered is when someone takes more than they give. And what they do is they'll give you something or they'll treat you to something, but only when you do it first. And then when you do it, then they'll do it, but it'll be way less than what you do. But somehow they'll try to guilt you into thinking what they did was much more than what you did. And then they'll kind of throw in the effect like, well, now you owe me, almost as if now you owe to treat them again. Being self-centered is something that should not be in a relationship or a friendship. When people do this, they're basically disrespecting you. And one of the things my friend would always do is like, if he wanted something from you, well, you owe him. He's your friend. And if you were offering him a fair deal on something, to him it wasn't a fair deal. The only way it would be a fair deal is if he got it dirt cheap. That's the only way it'd be a fair deal. But now, if you wanted to buy something from him, it's just the total opposite way. It was, he didn't want to sell you a fair deal. He wanted to sell you at high price. One thing I notice about self-centered people, and this is not true with all self-centered people, but it's definitely true with a lot of them, is they tend to brag about everything they have. And when they brag about it, it's like, oh, I got this dirt cheap, and I've got that dirt cheap. And they act like everything they have is better than yours. And if you can have the same exact thing, and for some reason theirs is better than yours, it may be because they got it at a cheaper price, or it may be just because, hey, mine's better because it's mine. That's, what I see a lot of self-centered people do. They also like to brag about what's theirs and what they got it for and this and that, I had one of my childhood friends, which was really self-centered, and he told me one day, he said, when I die, I want to owe everybody. I want to owe the banks. I want to owe credit cards. I want to owe everything because when I die, I want to get over on everybody. Basically, what he's saying is he wants to screw everybody. And when someone tells you that, and that's their philosophy, and that's their way of thinking, what they're saying is they'll screw you over. So, self-centered people, and especially in a relationship that should be 50-50, and they're supposed to love you. It should not be all about me, me, me. And when it is, that's a huge red flag, because if they love you, and I'm not throwing it up like, oh, if you love me, I'm just saying if they do love you, then they'll do anything for you. So it's not a matter of me or them or me. Chronic sarcasm. This is a good one. And it's a huge red flag in any relationship. especially committed relationships. Chronic sarcasm is just a form of anger. That's all it really is. And someone who does that all the time, they're just not a happy person. And you want happiness in healthy relationships. You don't want someone that's on the edge all the time because they're always giving you chronic sarcasm. You know, they act like they're joking, but they're not. It's serious. And for me, personally, I had it in a relationship. The best thing to do, again, Dr. Lovebug don't lie, dump their ass. Controlling. This is another good one. This is not only a red flag. This is a dump them immediately. If someone's trying to control you, they're trying to control what you do, where you go, who you see, keep you away from your family, whether you can work or not work. Look, this here particularly is America, and like so many other free countries, you're allowed to do whatever you want to do. And you know the difference between right and wrong. And if somebody tries to control you, it's a super duper toxic relationship. And later, they might control you if you allow it, by a lot of different means. They may even try to hit you to control you. You don't allow that. It's a big, huge red flag that you're in a toxic relationship. And some of the things you should do is get out, okay? There's no compromise unless they get professional help. There's nothing else that you can do personally that's going to change them. Some people change as they mature, and some people, just certain things you're not going to change. And if they're a controlling nature, that's part of their personality. And generally, that's not going to change. That a lot of times falls with jealousy, afraid they're going to lose you, don't want other people talking to you, controlling every little act. Someone that will never admit that they're wrong. That's a problem. That's also a toxic relationship. Big, huge red flags. Because when someone will never admit that they're wrong, you're never going to come to an agreement on anything. Even when you prove to them that they're wrong, whether you show it to them scientifically, whether you show it through literature, whether you make a phone call, no matter how it is that you prove to them they're wrong, somehow there's a mistake. And they're right. They're not wrong. You're the one wrong. And so if you get into a disagreement, you know, they're always going to be right. They're never going to admit fault. If they make a mistake, somehow it's going to turn around that it's your fault. You shouldn't have done that. You made me do that because what you did. You know, somehow they're always right and they're never wrong. These type of people, besides the fact that they won't admit they're wrong, they won't never say they're sorry because they don't want to admit that they're wrong. They're not only self-centered, but they're also got a problem with admitting they're wrong. And everyone should admit when they're wrong. Hey, when you're wrong, you're wrong. That's all there is to it. Nobody is perfect, you know. There's always someone you meet. And when I say someone you meet, I mean everyone you meet. I don't care if it's a 7th grader. There's always someone you meet that knows something you don't. So as soon as you think you're never wrong about nothing, you better think again. Toxic relationship, for sure.